So before we do the video on our speaker, I wanted just to tell you guys kind of a fun story. I was down on Friday and was asked to make some remarks at the JTED ribbon cutting. And by the way, you talk about a cool building. It is something we're all really proud of. And I'm sitting next to my fishing buddy, Jim Click, who actually was involved in starting JTED 16 years ago. And Clicker looks at me and he says, "What are we doing to help Rotary?" And I said, "Not a damn thing." And he said, "You could have a shortfall?" And I said, "We always have a shortfall." He said, "Dial me in for $25,000. So we tried to give Jim some tickets. He said no. We tried to find other ways to recognize him. He said no. He's making this in recognition of our centennial event, so he's a centennial sponsor. For those of you that know Clicker, and I think most of you do, please reach out and tell him thank you. It's such a neat thing for him to do. Now to move on to our keynote speaker today. I think you guys know that because of our friend Rick Rose and Matt Russell, we do a really fun video, and we'll turn it over to the video and then off to General.
Could be a dangerous video if Matt Russell's
Could be
involved.
General Ted Maxwell is a 1984 graduate of the United States Air Force Academy, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree. General Maxwell received his Master's in Business Administration from the University of Arizona in 2014 and was recently appointed by Governor Doug Ducey to serve on the Arizona State Transportation Board. He also serves on the Governor's Water Augmentation, Innovation, and Conservation Council. General Maxwell retired as a Major General in 2018. His final military position was as the commander of the Arizona Air National Guard, responsible for over 2,700 airmen and 3 flying missions. He has over 4,600 flying hours, predominantly in the F-16. In April of 2013, he brought his leadership skills to the Southern Arizona Leadership Council, where in 2018 he assumed the role of President and Chief Executive Officer. The leadership and command experience he gained from nearly 34 years of military service have served him well in his role at SALC. Additionally, General Maxwell serves on the board of directors for the Arizona Bowl, the U.S. Air Force Museum Foundation, the U of A Applied Research Corporation, and the Eller College National Board of Advisors. General Maxwell is here today to tell us how the nearly 140 CEOs, business and community leaders of the Southern Arizona Leadership Council are actively involved in creating a vibrant future for the Tucson region and the state of Arizona by engaging in the critical issues of education, infrastructure, healthcare, the economy, and governance. Let's have a rousing, patriotic Rotary welcome for Major General Ted Maxwell.
All right, I got a little nervous when I heard the video was made by Matt Russell.
I coached Matt's kids when they were young, and I was a lot younger and maybe a lot more foolish back then too. So I was afraid if Matt was going to dig in his own personal photo out and come up with some pictures, but he kept it, played it straight, I guess. That was good. And I want to echo what Mark Irving said earlier about the Arizona Bowl. The Arizona Bowl was founded by the founders, which Mark was one, on the principle of giving back to this community. It remains the only bowl in the Bowl Coalition that gives back 100% of the net proceeds to the community. And I've been honored to follow Brent Durrott in as the vice chair. Ollie Farhang remains the chair. And hiring and putting Kim Adair in place as the executive director is probably the smartest move any of those members on the Bowl Committee has ever done. And I tell you, there's some discussion around our new bowl, our title sponsor, but what I'm going to tell you is stand by. This event is going to be incredible. It's going to bring Tucson not only publicity, but acclaims, an opportunity to spend a whole week showing off what living, residing, and working in Tucson looks like in December. As long as we don't get snow, we'll be happy and it'll be great. But the Arizona Bowl is about this community, and I know everyone in this room is also about this community. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for being part of Rotary. Thank you for selling me the winning ticket for the Corvette. Just saying, just saying. But thank you for being back here and being back in person. This is such a great opportunity, a great event to see, people to see. We often forget that what really makes our community and our country what it is our connections and our connections with people. So the sooner we can all get back to meeting, whether it's masked, unmasked, as long as we're breaking bread and communicating with people, I know good things will happen going forward. So I did run into Bob Logan Saturday night at the U of A football game. It was in the first half, we were still all very positive and we were leaning forward, but I ran into Bob and goes, so you're speaking to us this week? I said, yeah, that's great. I said, still got to put together slides and stuff. He goes, no, you don't. Use the ones you used last time. I said, well, the topic's the same, sort of, but today I'm going to try to turn it to more of a conversation about what's going on in our region now, and I really hope that I leave enough time to have some good Q&A where you can talk about what your concerns or your thoughts of the things that are happening right now in our region and how we can make it better going forward. But when I pulled up the slides, because I did exactly what Bob told me to do, I went and grabbed the old slides. I said, okay, this should be easy. I can straight make them forward. I've shortened some of them, but what scared me was how similar they could be. History, for those of you who were not here 2 years ago, and it was almost 2 years to the date, 2 years September, I believe I spoke to you last time.
Southern Arizona Leadership Council was founded, 7 founding members, 26 original members in 1997. It was the idea of putting together a business organization. We're not a chamber. We don't run events. We don't make money. We're about members who pay their dues, and we engage in policy. We engage with our elected officials. We engage on both sides of the aisle. We're nonpartisan. And we engage primarily in those 5 issues that you heard in the introduction. Education, infrastructure. I can tell you, in the first probably 5, 10 years, that's almost all that we engaged in. We only have 26 members. We're up to 142 CEOs and business leaders. And we now engage actively with 3 of our CEOs chairing each one of our committees in education, infrastructure, the innovation economy. Started out in bioscience, but we've expanded, trying to support the startups and the transition of ideas and concepts from the university to businesses here in the region. Governance and healthcare. And I'll tell you, having the majority of the healthcare CEOs on our board or in our membership over the last 2 years has been a godsend for organizations like ours and getting the reality of what's going on out there and how we can address it. So that was where we started, kind of where we came to now. Just before the pandemic hit, we went through a new visioning and mission statement review. And here's our new vision. Many of you know I took over for General Ron Schuman, so something about military people, I guess they like to have leading these organizations. But I told Ron before we did the visioning, how did you come up with 48 words in a vision? A vision is supposed to be something everybody can remember. And this is what we believe fits our organization and our community, advancing a world-class community. When I say advancing, we know it. There are parts of Tucson that are absolutely world-class. And we need to advance that message. We need to get it out. But there's also parts that aren't there yet. And we need to keep working on those areas so that when we hit them all and we're running on all cylinders, this world-class community will be known by everybody and will be desired and emulated by everybody. We're just not there yet. We've got to work together to continue to try to get there. Our mission statement, go back, one at a time, Ted. There you go. Our mission statement, we've changed one line in this over the years, and that's just the ending. We changed it to communities. It used to be community. We thought that was it wasn't inclusive. We need to go, it's for all the communities. We do view all of our decisions and all our policies through a business lens. But it's a business lens focused on the belief that through a strong economy, through jobs and opportunities, to a thriving economic environment, the quality of life for everybody, regardless of what community they are in our region, will improve. You're going to address poverty, you're going to address crime, you're going to address all that by getting individuals high quality, living wage paying jobs. But you can't do that unless your community's attracting the employers that are going to come in and create those jobs. Or we're growing them internally, thus the focus on innovation company. So the membership's 142 folks. We are CEO, senior executive leadership type group. We do have leaders of some of the strongest nonprofits in the region as well. Because I'll tell you, Tony Penn, Mike McDonald, those folks are running businesses. They've got revenues and in-kind members that exceed most of the companies that we've got in the city of Tucson. So they see the advantage of having a strong economy. We do strategic public policy, and I say strategic because there's a lot of issues that we don't engage on. You won't see us routinely engage on the sign code. MPA does a great job doing that. The chamber takes a lot of those issues. We are too small a community to have everybody working on the exact same initiatives. So SALC tries to fill that space of a strategic organization. I guarantee you that Senator Engels got tired of getting calls from us when we wanted to pitch what we thought needed to happen at the state legislature. But the fact of the matter is, those are the folks that are making the decisions. It is our elected officials, or our appointed officials, or quite often our governmental agencies, staffs, boards, and commissions. So you have to engage them. If you're not going to be willing to have the conversation, guess what? You're not going to get anything done. You've got to engage them at all times, and that is why we are, I would call us hyper nonpartisan as an organization. That doesn't mean we're non-political. We just said we have to influence politicians, so we want absolutely play in the political world, but we don't get the partisan side. Kind of already hit all where our target audiences are. One thing we do, and it's really important, I already mentioned kind of we're too small in the community to have everybody and every entity working on the same issues. But that doesn't mean you don't build collaboration. So we've got strategic partnerships with Sun Corridor, with the Tucson Metro Chamber, with the Hispanic Chamber, with SALAC, with TAR, MPA, most anybody. We've got organizations such as the Tucson Regional Water Coalition that we sit on, the Business Partners for Trade and Transportation. You reach out to all the different entities that have concerns in all the different fields, and you work collaboratively. Collaboration, to me, remains the critical piece to successfully move forward on everything. It's what, honestly, I think our country needs to start going back to, is this idea that, yes, we won't always agree. Yes, we might think some things are just absolutely not acceptable, but if we learn to communicate and collaborate, we actually have a possibility of getting something done. And that's the only way we're going to move forward, is if we get things done. So I talked about we view it through a business lens. I've also, I think, emphasized the nonpartisan piece of what SALC is. Again, not non-political, nonpartisan. But we make our decisions, we try to make them as best as we can on fact-based decision making. We rely a lot on data. That's what myself and the rest of our core staff do a lot of, is pulling research, pulling data, putting it together, and then presenting it to our business CEOs and business leaders to make their recommendations, because ultimately my board side defines the policies that we're going to pursue going forward. But we want to make sure we're doing it from a fact-based approach. The Making Action Possible dashboard, it's housed in the U of A. Why the U of A? It's housed in the U of A because they're a trusted source. Especially when you talk to the folks who do all their data stuff. That's all they're focused on, is the data. George Hammond runs a great organization over there, and they have no outside influences. They take the data, digest it, publish it. And so it's a great place to go. SALC, along with the Community Foundation of Southern Arizona and the U of A, were the original backers behind the map dashboard. If you haven't been there, you can find information, specific, visually beneficial graphics. We try to make them as easy. Matter of fact, there's windshield wipers are the biggest ones that you'll see. It's got to show where we are. And it compares the data to 12 other like regions. Either regions we want to be like, or regions we think are about our size. Albuquerque, Colorado Springs is on there, but so is Phoenix, and so is Austin. So that's 4 of the 12. Compares the data in 6 different categories, 36 different measurements. So if you're interested in quality of life, if you're interested in infrastructure, if you're interested in education, you can find data on the Making Action Possible dashboard. MapAZ dashboard. That's how you find it. .com. MapAZ-dashboard.com. The other thing that we do is we do everything by consensus. I've been with SALC for 13 years. I've been the president CEO for the last 5. We don't do things on a 51-49 decision. It's just not a good way to get solid policy. You really need to have folks from both sides of the aisle, both sides of the demographics, both sides of just what they believe in consensus to get good public policy through. Because ultimately, if we go on 5149 aspect every time, guess what? Swings 5149 one way, they change all the policies, it swings back, they change them all back, swings the other, they change it back in, and everybody loses perspective that that's not moving forward. We want our region, our state, and ultimately our country moving forward when we make decisions. So as an organization, we're not going to go out and pitch policies that's on the razor's edge, even amongst our own organization. Get there slowly. How we do it, I talked already to the communities, the committees we call them focus areas. Those are the main ones we work on. We've also got a strategic initiatives committee and a public policy committee. This is the first year we've had a public policy committee, so this is something new that we've had in the past, because we found that we weren't responsive enough to how quickly legislative action within the state could occur. So it'd be really great if, all the legislation publish what they're going to put forward, like in October, they come in January, everybody's prepared to give them input, and then they go down the road. It doesn't work that way. There's stuff that's dropped on the fly. Dropped reactive to other bills that are dropped. It's just, so we created a public policy committee this year. In the last year, SALC reviewed over 75 bills that actually weighed in on 41, higher than we've ever weighed in on in the state legislature. But it was effective. I think our members appreciate it, but I can tell you the ones involved in that committee got worn out. And we're seeing if we can improve that next year. So what have we done? This one, I have 2 slides. Tried to keep the first one kind of the same, update the second one for you. One of the first things we did was dealing with water issues. So we've dealt with water issues ever since. Chuck sits with the Tucson Regional Water Coalition, and so we see some of the things we've worked on. But there's been a lot of water issues, and continue to be a lot of water issues, and we will always remain engaged on those fronts. Education's been a huge one. We helped champion the first Prop 301, which was the first $6 million in the new for education back in 2000. It got reauthorized at one point. It's now actually still around in the state legislature. How now has control of it. It's no longer voter protected. It's something to be aware of, but they have approved it to go forward. It's that portion of the 0.6 sales tax is still in existence in the state. RTA, that's a big one. That's a big one that you may have some questions about today, and that's a big one I'll talk about a little bit when I get to our current issues. But SLC was a big part of running that. Rick Myers, who ran the Citizens Advisory Committee, was at one time a member of SLC, and at one time he was actually the president of my role at SLC. And he had a lot to do with getting that across the finish line. Not to mention Cy Shore and a lot of the other folks, Steve Christie, who's in the room today, that worked on that initial thing and came together across party aisles to get it done. And that's how you get things past the voters. Ultimately, if you've got some people on both sides telling you it's a good idea. Town Hall was back in 2007. Some recent ones we had, and I put this one up because it's something new, and I obviously did a bad job of cleaning up my slide here at the end. But we were some of the proponents behind defeating Prop 205, which was the sanctuary city. It's a very easy proposition to defeat because I think generally what we find with citizens initiatives quite often is they have multiple ramifications other than what the intent of the action truly was. So in that one, we had the mayor, all the council, and the city chief of police also supporting the business community's position on that. It was still a big lift. It was not an easy initiative to defeat. Back in 2000 and I think it was 2014, 2016, SALC made a tough choice to oppose another citizens initiative on early childhood education. And the reason I say it was tough is because that's something we've supported since our founding in 1997. Matter of fact, Steve Lynn, an SALC member, was one of the founders and the ones who stood up first things first in the state. What we had a problem with that initiative was it was creating all sorts of new bureaucracies and organizations at a tax rate $0.50 in the city that they would openly acknowledge they would not be able to spend for anywhere between 3 and 8 years. And we're going, well, then why are you starting to tax that early? You could have progressed. Again, just poorly written. But we told the opponents, we're not going away. We want to solve and help solve a solution. And we have made efforts to move forward with early childhood education. You may have seen the county gave $10 million, the city gave $1 million. Business, my understanding is we've raised so far about $3 more million to go into it to provide scholarships to those in below the poverty level so they can have access to early childhood education for their kids. I think there's more to come. With the state legislature helping us last year, we passed a piece of legislation that we think may an opportunity, without raising taxes, to bring more money to bear for early childhood education, which I think we can all agree to support. And then the one that's most recent that I'd just like to point out to you is Prop 481. It was one that changed the expenditure limitation for Pima Community College. I think anyone in business who's watched what Lee Lambert and PCC do as far as training the future skill sets needed and some specific certifications where graduates from their programs can go immediately into the job market has seen what they've done in that front. But because of expenditure limitations that originally came into place in the 1980s, Pima Community College was at a funding level. By the way, the state legislature has eliminated the additional funding for Pima Community College and Maricopa Community Colleges. But we were at a funding level that put us near the bottom of the state, despite having one of the largest community college programs. All it took was changing the language on the expenditure limitation. 3 SALC members were actually the co-chairs of this organization, and I did serve that campaign as the treasurer. So I don't know if that's always good, because being the treasurer sometimes can get you in trouble if you mess things up. So it worked. Now, here's a slide that I showed you last time, so 2 years ago. And what were the concerns we had at the time? Infrastructure and a citizens initiative. I already talked about how that one worked out. So what are the ones we got this time? Infrastructure and a citizens initiative. Now, I added a couple things on there because there may be moments of interest, bringing in a little bit of what we think are some of the bigger issues in this region right now. So the infrastructure, things haven't really changed. We were talking about RTA last time because we knew 2026, what happens if this RTA expires. So it's got to get to the voters before 2026. You don't bet your entirety on the one-shot opportunity. We're still working through that. We're making progress. I think you will see something on the ballot. 2024, Citizens Advisory Committee is filling some spots. There's still opportunities if anybody's interested in applying for that. But the RTA passed in 2006 because of the engagement with the public. That's going to occur this time as well. And the thing that's real important, ready for this one, I spoke to the Rocky Mountain Asphalt Users and Producers group this morning. Never thought I'd be doing that, but that as was mentioned, I've been appointed to the State Transportation Board, another position held by Mr. Christie. I told him if anybody has any bad questions about what the State Transportation Board, I'm going to blame it on future commissioners from that represented Pima County. But in that group, I pointed out to him that in 2025, our current 5-year plan for the state, 5-year plan, guess how much money is being spent on expansion in our 5-year plan starting in 2025? 0. Think of the numbers of how we've grown in this state, this region, with businesses and with citizens, with families and retirees, people who are recognizing the advantages of living in a state like Arizona. Yet in 2025, as of right now, the 5-year plan has 0 for expansion of our infrastructure and capacity. Why? Funding. It's as simple as that. In our current early years of the 5-year where we do have money going towards expansion, the reason we do is because of MAG's Prop 400, so Maricopa's Prop 400, and our RTA. Because that is commitments made by the voters willing to pay some of the tax, also willing to leverage federal funds and state funds to get projects done. So MAG expires in 24. RTA for us here in Pima County expires in 26. So if either one of those runs into problems and we can't figure out how as a community to come together and get them to pass, guess how much expansion of our infrastructure that we need? Just for quality of life. People always think infrastructure only supports business. Not a chance. We all use infrastructure every day. And if those two propositions at some point don't get reauthorized, for the foreseeable future, we will not have any funding available. The Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, I think most of us are aware that was the infrastructure bill put forward by the Senate and put over to the House. It's now getting caught up in inside of politics. I don't know if it will get through. 2 months ago, I would have been really confident about it. Right now, I'm fairly confident about it because I think everybody understands the need for investment. That will be a significant event. The funding for federal and state highways will be increased by 50% to all the states based on your census information. But it is a huge investment, plus the amount of money in that for grants for things like failing bridges, for broadband expansion. It's just, if you haven't read it, you've got to take a look at it, because 1.5 trillion is a lot of money, but it is all money majority of money that's going to go to direct impact on things that will drive our economy and our quality of life. So I'm hoping they figure out a way to get that one. Talked about a citizens initiative, and this one's a tough one. It's the minimum wage. One of the challenges I think we have with our citizens initiative is the way we collect signatures. Because you know what? If somebody walks up to me and says, hey, don't you think everybody should get $15? I'm going to say, you bet I do. Okay, sign right here. That's not the problem. The problem is the rest of the initiative. The problem is the rest of the initiative behind that. Matter of fact, SALC's board, who eventually going to come out against it, as I'm giving them the nonpartisan view of what's in the bill, what's going, first they're going, okay, that's all good, that's all good, that's all good. Once we got there, everyone know that's going to be bad for our community. And I'll give you a little bit more discussion on that yet. But it's now going to be on the ballot for citizens here in November. Can anybody cite to me a single minimum wage initiative that hasn't passed when it's gotten to the ballot in the U.S.? You're right, there's not one. They're all going to pass. Okay. Our belief is this one's probably going to pass. But our belief of why it's still important as an organization to kind of run a campaign is it's not about $15. Our state minimum wage will be to $15 within the next 3 to 4 years as well, because it's there. So it's not. I don't want anybody to take away that, oh, the business community is against the $15. I think the majority of the business community isn't, because it's going to get there. Matter of fact, if you let the market show, it's already there. Right now, if you want to take a job at one of the restaurants in this area, those owners are paying $16 to $19 to get new employees and still can't find them. So the market will work. Okay. The part that we've got a problem with is, and if anybody's seen this week, Mike Rankin, or it was last week actually, Mike Rankin delivered to the city attorney, delivered to the city manager, a thing on how do we implement all this stuff. And again, this is part of my problem that I got with citizens initiatives. There should be a clearinghouse where it has to go through legal review first. Because he came out and said that their use of enforcement for this initiative, when it comes to city courts and civil action, is against the Arizona Constitution. And he does not see how they're even going to be able to put that in. They may not, but then they're not complying with citizens initiatives. I thought citizens initiatives were going to protect it, so that'd be one issue. The other one is there's other language in there that's in direct violation of federal and state employment laws. Now, there are some other issues in there that personally we don't like. One I don't like is it's incentivizing fiscally people to report other folks. I think it's civic responsibility that when we see somebody breaking the law, we report it. That's my belief is, 34 years in the military, call things like the truth. But when we get to the point of fiscally encouraging things for citizens to be turning in other citizens, we're starting to get on, I'll call it, two far extremes. Hardcore right-wing dictatorships, they pay and elevate people who turn others in, and on the other side, the old communist regimes. Don't have as many of them around anymore. It's not a threat. Don't take it as this is not that. But you don't do that in a society that has people who believe in civic responsibility. So again, I think this minimum wage is going to be problematic. It's going to end up in court eventually, and it's not because of the minimum wage. That's even the businesses out there, smaller businesses out there, they're super worried about it. It's not. And the other part for the city of Tucson, it's only in the city of Tucson. I asked the proponents, why didn't you do it countywide? And they said, we don't think we can get it through if we do it countywide. Well, do you realize it makes Tucson an island then? Kind of like Flagstaff's an island right now. They're already in the courts again, because their action's out there. But it hurts the competitive disadvantage. For a long time, the mayor and council will look at you and tell us how, you always say that Tucson's not business friendly. Do you have any good examples? And a lot of times, I don't know if we really do, other than we say, well, slow processing of zoning and other things, but this one is one that people are going to be able to point to. People are going to be able to use against us of why businesses would not want to relocate. So it's just, it goes down to branding and image. We really need to keep it up. Federal care's new issue. That one's probably went way too long on that one for what I need to say. New issues, federal funds, CARES and ARPA. This is another opportunity for a lot of things to improve in our region. And I think it's really important that we check and make sure that and find out what those funds are going to. So that's something SALC is engaged in right now with both the city and the county to talk to them. about how the CARES money is being spent and what the next wave of funding how it will be spent, where businesses can work with them, not against them, to leverage public-private partnerships. I know there's a lot of discussion already on public-public partnerships, how the university can work with the city to make effective use of these arts. But I think they're missing an opportunity if they don't reach out to some business or entities and organizations, especially when it comes to things like wide access to broadband. Just something you can do, and the companies are interested, they want to do it, and I think we can leverage it and make it better. And then probably the most important thing occurring right now to the future of our state is the Independent Redistricting Commission. Every 10 years, if you're unaware, the state redraws the maps. So, I know Senator Engel's running, but I'm not 100% sure she can tell you what district she's going to be living in, what district she's going to be running in yet. Because they won't know until probably December, maybe even January. That's when the new maps will come out. But those maps make such a critical piece of the impact we have. And I want to explain it to you just real quick on and what SLC's been pushing for. We're the only business group that showed up at the last listening sessions that the members, and it's 5 members, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and an independent. Tell me that independent's not under pressure. But that really draw these maps, fiddle with them, and they do a lot of meetings with the public. So they just finished, I think it was on the order of 80, 90 listening sessions that they held. They held 2 in Tucson. And what we pitched for then is for them to focus. There's 6 different things they can focus on, but one of them is geographic limits. Because the last one, which focused predominantly on competitive districts, and you think competitive districts is a great thing to focus on, but what I will tell you is competitive districts resulted in having 6 competitive districts in the state, for the state legislature. 6. Most of the others, not all, but most of them were decided in the primaries. And whoever won the primary, the party that had the voting majority moved, took the seat. Again, I think you need to balance the competitiveness, but for what happened to us here in Tucson, we only had 2 legislative districts that were wholly encompassed inside Pima County, LD9 and LD10. And I'm pretty sure that Senator Engel would agree with me, is both those districts were Democratic districts. You saw, Ethan Orr popped up in 9 for 1, a little while Todd Clodfelter had 1 term in 10. So you get those one-offs, but historically they weren't. But the challenge for Pima County became, we had 2 districts that were both majorities of the minority party. So everybody goes, well, that only hurt the Republicans. No, it didn't. Ask Senator Engel how hard it is as a member of the minority party to get a bill heard. How hard it is to get your bills led. So what that meant was organizations that wanted to make a difference didn't have anybody that they could go in the majority party to carry the bill and get it heard. So this independent redistricting, if you're not aware of it, take a look. It's really important. I think somebody's now calling me to get me off the stage because I heard my phone and mine went barred. So I want to apologize for failing to leave a lot more time for Q&A. That was my goal. But obviously, you can see, I hope you saw the passion of myself on these kind of issues in our organization. And I'll be around after this if you want to come up and talk about anything that's going on in our region that you think either isn't getting enough attention, should get more attention, or if you're going to look at me and say, hey, some of your positions are just moronic. I'm good with that. It's always good to have a Again, conversations lead to collaboration.
Thank you. We can do one quick question if somebody has a burning question right now. That's what President Marcus said. Okay, I saw this hand first. All right, you win, Mr. Freitas.
Is I-11 still alive? I hear rumors from various corners that some organizations are still trying to bring it back up.
So I-11, for those of you who don't know, is a proposed interstate. It's actually on the federal docket. Senator McCain helped us lift that and get it on there in collaboration with the senators from Nevada. And it goes from the Mariposa Port Entry all the way to a to-be-determined north section of the Nevada border. Here, the controversy is the current route was originally proposed as the primary solution was through Opera Valley. Okay, many of you who've been living in Tucson a lot longer than me know there have been a lot of different proposals
for how to route another freeway north of Catalinas, back on the backside of the Rincons, just a ton of different areas. But that was the proposed solution. It's part of a Tier 1 environmental impact study. You have to go out and, again, bring in people for input. Based on that input, they added a second alternative, which is through downtown Tucson expansion of Interstate 10. More than likely would have to be double-stacking Interstate 10, more than likely. So those are the two options. Neither one of them is perfect. I'll be the first one to acknowledge that. And to your point, Chuck, yes, the Tier 1 EIS is still moving forward. The belief is we'll move forward with both of those in there. The reason you're hearing a lot about it, it's that the phase for input was extended, and there has been a pretty good effort by those opposed to the Iowa Valley route to try to get it taken off completely. And honestly, if the Tier 1 EIS for I-11 comes back and the only solution is through downtown Tucson, you don't even need to have it, because it's not a new freeway, it's not a new route. And the idea of the opponents we would get to actually going in and putting 2 tiers on I-10, you haven't seen anything yet. The folks that don't want that. I mean, and I'm talking probably a lot of the same folks who are opposed to Iowa Valley. Infrastructure is a tough thing, because something's gonna be impacted to provide more infrastructure. That's why, to me, it's all about collaboration and getting people on consensus. So, thank you very much.
General, thanks for your comments and being our keynote speaker today. I think this is a really appropriate book. It's got your name all over it. I want to be a leader. This will make its way into our Make Way for Books library. General, thank you as always for your comments. So we got some birthday folks here, and we're going to start off with Rick Rose. I think you know he was born on October 16th. He joined our club in November of '89. Entertainment, sports, producer and director, film operations, University of Denver grad. So we ask people 4 questions. What do we know about you? Why did you join? Why do you stay? What are you going to do to make it better? So what you see is what you get with Rick. Why did he join? Ron Yanoff, Bob Sheldon, and a few others required him to join. It's interesting because he's not normally a joiner. Why does he stay? He loves that Rotary sets goals and achieves them. What's he going to do to make it better? He's going to continue to practice the 4-way test and service above self. And I want to just give a quick shout out for Rick. So we asked Rick, would he help us when COVID first started? And we took our productions inside his studio and did that. Then we were trying to figure out how to morph into some sort of virtual, in-person thing. Rick helped with that. Came time to do the Centennial, he helped with that. He does not know how to say no, and he does a lot of stuff for me personally. If you're not using Rick, you probably made a mistake. Rick Rose.
Thank you. I really can't tell you what a thrill it is really to be a member of this club. It's I'm not really a joiner, as I said, and I've been asked to be in many boards and things like that. But this is the only club that I've stayed with forever. And you guys really do walk the walk, and I'm proud to be one of you. And I'm going to start a new Paul Harris for my second grandson, Easton. So thank you very much.
Rick, thank you. Talk about a perfect Rotarian. Okay, Rob Lemaster falls in that same thing as well. Born October 20th, he joined our club in January 16th, Community and Social Services, Make-A-Wish Foundation. He is their nonprofit director. He's a Texas Tech boy. And here's what I'm going to tell you about him. Here's what you didn't know. He's a managing director for his family's LLC, which is all about farming. So he's a farmer. Why'd he join? Paul Helms made him do it. Why does he stay involved? Because it's the best place to go if you want to be impactful and meet people. And what's he going to do? He's going to plan to find ways to bring in energetic members to continue the tradition. Rob.
Thank you, President Mark. Let me get this down for a second. I do want to thank Paul. I don't think he's here today. And actually, this is I work for a nonprofit, so I understand the value of volunteering, and this is the best place I can think of to have the broadest, deepest impact in the city of Tucson and in this whole area is to be part of this Rotary Club. And I'm really looking forward to working with all of you this weekend. We're going to knock it out of the ballpark. I think it's going to be beautiful weather. I think we're going to have a lot of people out there. couple of things, Mark. We left off that not only do we raise crops, but we also produce organic energy products. You can figure if you know what that is. Anyway, I do have a check for our scholarship program. And I also have, don't you have a birthday coming up soon?
Yeah, later this month.
So in honor of that birthday, and then also in honor of the undefeated SMU Mustangs, coached by a Texas Tech alum and fellow fraternity brother of mine, who's the son of a Texas Tech coaching legend. So, you know, Sonny Dykes is doing a great job. I've got this SMU cap here, and the inscription, their version of bear down is pony up. And as president of the Rotary Club, this has two meanings. So, happy birthday.
As an SMU grad, I gotta tell you, I resemble those remarks. Okay, next up is Mike Tennebon. He was born October 22nd. He joined our club in October of, this can't be right. Mike, when did you join our club?
2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think this is wrong, but anyway, I'm not going to mention it. I think he joined in 2019. Retired education administrator at McGill University out of Montreal. He's also Northwestern University, University of Oregon. I couldn't figure out what school he wanted to go to. So, what do we not know about him? He went to Rick's Cafe in Casablanca 3 years ago on his birthday. Why did he join? He's a former Portland Club member, and he loved how they were focused on education. He likes that. That's our focus as well. And he also appreciates how we honor students. Why does he stay? He loves the work that Rotary does locally and internationally. What's he going to do to make it better? He wants to enhance our scholarship program. Mike.
Thank you, Mark. I guess this is one time when we have an opportunity to thank our sponsors. My sponsor was Ellie Patterson, and my mentor was Scott Vaughn, and it helped me a lot. I am kind of a one-issue person, and I came into Rotary because it crafted our local club in Oregon a way to honor kids, not just for scholastic achievement, but for community contributions too. And I have been working on the scholarship committee here, and I'm going to continue to do that. So thanks a lot. Oh, I've got something for you.
Wish you guys to start making those checks payable to me. As we promised during our centennial, we're going to have a history moment every time. I don't think she needs an introduction. I do refuse to call her Char. I don't know what you do. Charlotte's too pretty of a name. Charlotte Harris, and she joined us back in 2000. Education Administrative Secondary, U of A grad. I think she knows something about South Point. She was our president back in 2008 and 2009. Charlotte.
Last week, Joni Condon, our car show chair, shared the process and excitement of our show that's happening this Saturday. And John Wong shared the history of the car show since 2007, which has allowed our club to donate almost $2 million to Tucson charities. Though hands-on service of members of our Rotary Club, Service About Self, has been of primary importance over the past 100 years, do you ever wonder how members raised the needed funds for 70 years of U of A scholarships, or 100 years of sponsoring Boy Scout programs, and their building in Tucson's El Rio neighborhood and multiple other programs? The Arizona Daily Star article from 1979 indicated that the club did not have fundraisers, as members did not want the time taken away from their businesses. So fines and special donations were how funds were raised. That was the tradition for about the first 60 years of our club. One example of that continues today. The U of A scholarships, which since the beginning in 1947 used milk jugs in the early years, and now metal cups, which are on your tables today, that are used weekly to collect scholarship donations for the U of A at Pima Community College. In 1975, momentum for raising funds was starting to undergo a change, as under the leadership of Larry Adamson, our Rotary Club of Tucson Foundation was established as a private 501c3 organization which continues today to provide tax credit benefits to donors and the opportunity to sell raffle tickets. So today I'm just going to share some fundraising history in regards to local charities. International charities is another story for another day. For 2 years, starting in 1977, there was a Boy Scout warehouse sale where we joined several other local Rotary Club members who donated items and proceeds benefited scout programs. We also joined Tucson Rotary Clubs in the early 1980s to sponsor golf tournaments for scouting programs. Another tradition that started in the 1970s and continues today is the annual bell ringing of the Salvation Army. Honoring Rotary International's 75th year in 1980, our club's special project was the Arizona Historical Society's mining exhibit audio-radio system for $25,000. To assist in raising funds, each club member was responsible for selling 50 raffle tickets for $1 each. The prizes included a new Ford Fairmont, a 19-inch color television, and a microwave oven. Our club's very first fundraising event was organized and chaired by Mike Anderson in 1986, which was just the beginning of his extensive leadership in raising funds for our club. The event held at the Ramada Inn was titled Rotary Round the World Auction. In addition to items donated by members and several other travel opportunities were offered, and they raised $20,000, and it was held at least a second year. We know of $10 Buys a Dream House from an earlier history moment that took place starting in 1999, where through his leadership again, Mike Anderson oversaw the purchase of property through donations, a 2-year construction of a 4-bedroom house, with the end result of 35,000 tickets sold and raising $253,000 for the charity account of our club's foundation. Second prize for that raffle that year was a Wrangler donated by Steve Christie. That was big. $253,000 20 years ago. And during the last 15 years, we've had our Tucson Classics Car Show, where Mike Anderson's family's company, We Buy Houses, has been a title sponsor, and Mike has always found an appropriate Corvette that is raffled off. The car show was initially inspired to fulfill the expenses of Reading Seed, a children's literacy program. This year it will benefit Pima JTAG. And the beat goes on.
I don't know about you, but I think every time I hear a history lesson, I learn something, and I've been around for, I don't know, since about 92. So I want a couple quick announcements. First, I want to announce this gentleman right here, my buddy Emery, who decided he was going to come and join us today. Thank you for joining us today. Good to see you. Although I'm sure we'll have a discussion about this later, Counselor. I noticed that you were shown in the Best Lawyers in the World publication under 3 categories. So I think somebody's going to want to visit with you about that later, but I wanted just to publicly congratulate you on that, Emery. So we got a little, Chris, we got a little auction, or a little raffle. There's a bunch of bucks in there, aren't there?
It's raffle season, right? I'll come over here by some of the birthday folks. Pick a winning ticket. They're already, you can't applaud until he does the draw yet. Oh, is that a drum roll? I couldn't tell, Bob. The winning ticket is 681643. Who is it today? 43. Marianne! Oh my gosh. Chuck, for you guys who don't know, Chuck bought tickets for both of them, and he was secretly wishing, openly wishing that Marianne would win and not him. Yeah, I thought she would win. All right, and let's see if she won the big prize, which is around $1,950, something like that. I'm sure it's in there. You ready?
Ready.
No, you did the other one.
Yeah.
You do this one.
Have Mike do it.
All right, Mike.
Here we go. Ooh, that's it.
You can't tell from my expression if you won or not. It's close. Queen of Spades, guys.
So close to this cigar. But what's the consolation prize?
$70, which is in my pocket, so you can get $70. I'm bringing it to you right now. All right, take it away, sir.
Chris, thank you. So we got a couple of quick announcements. Where's our Rotary Fly Fishing? Where's Rotary Fly Fishing Fund? So check out this fish that Pickering got, that Steve got. Wow. This is now taken over. This is taken over as the largest fish. It still won't fit in Bob Logan's net, but it's the big fish. I just wanted to say thanks. Our fund has now grown to $1,500, and there's plenty of room for anybody that's got a fishing picture they want to showcase. Steve, thanks for showcasing that. I just really appreciate that. That's fun. Thank you. Okay, I want to just do a quick little special recognition. You know, our centennial, it's almost impossible to thank everybody because there's so many people that worked on this thing, but I want to call out a couple people who I just think were off the charts. Jim Lubinsky for his leadership, Leo Litsky obviously as well. Where's Jeannie Zeta the Cheetah? There she is again. Ken Light and Lisa Fogel. Give them a round of applause. Bruce Jacobs, you got a little announcement for us?
Got it?
You gotta turn it on, Bruce.
Turn it on.
First thing you do is President-elect, turn it on.
I thought he handed it to me, turned on. So a few things real quick. For all the procrastinators that were supposed to sign up for the dinner by like noon on Monday, and we've had plenty that's wanted it since then. If you want to sign up, see Dorina before you leave here. If you walk out the door, you cannot come to the dinner on Friday. Second, Centennial shirts, I have them back here. Please be patient with me. If you need to run out of here, I'll be at the Gregory School on Friday in the afternoon, hawking them out of the back of my car. And last but not least, save the date. 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to go back to Three Canyons, and the sign-up should actually be on the website either this afternoon or tomorrow. That's it.
Thank you, Bruce. I know you guys are going to find this hard to believe, but on Saturday we've got a little thing going on called the Car Show. And I think Jeannie and Joni, you're going to come up and talk to us about that?
Good afternoon. I'm excited to share with this slide up. Last week we told you the online auction had started on the 5th, and there, roll one passes. That was Bruce's slide. One passed. What I want to get across is that is the link where you can go out now and see what is going to be on the Friday night auction. You can also start online bidding out there. It will close Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and so if you don't have an online bid in, you will get a chance, if you come to the Friday night auction, to bid live. There will be bid sheets out, but whatever's the top online bid will be on the top of the bid sheet. And there's all kinds of items. There's a lot of new things, including Sugar Skulls tickets and football and wine from Jerry Harris and lots of good things. And we'll take care of collecting the money and distributing them right there at the spot. We've got about 65 things to bid on. So I hope you're coming to the dinner. If you want to check, there's a list in the back of who has signed up so far. And we look forward to seeing you there.
We couldn't do this, the things that we've done this year without all of her talent. So thank you. So we got a slide here that says that we're at 77% of our goal of 35,000 tickets being sold. However, a lot of you did what was asked, and you've been bringing in a lot of your tickets that are turning in tickets and money today. We're, with all the online sales, since Jeannie made this slide on Monday, we're now at 80% of our goal. Just so you know, typically we sell about, according to Peter Behan, we sell about 5,000 tickets at the day of show, so we are super close to being able to actually make that goal. So keep selling your tickets, please don't give up. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, technically at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, online ticket sales are turned off and they get replaced by the auction information. So if you're going to do online, you got to do it tonight and get your friends to do it tonight. Otherwise, you can buy tickets at the door, or you can buy hard tickets if people have them. Okay, now the rest of the things I want to tell you about, because everybody's got a few little quickies. We really need some volunteers. You know, this car show is, you remember John Wong's statement, other people's money, some of our money, but a lot of our time. We can't do it without you. We still need volunteers, particularly in parking. And if you are a slotter, we're hoping you'll flip over into parking later. Steve Pickering really needs some people on Sunday morning for cleanup. So there's a few other openings. See Marcy Euler where she's waving in the back. If you plan to volunteer, please, please volunteer. Also, if you are volunteering as a Rotarian and you are coming in on Saturday, if you come into the the Gregory School's main entrance, you're going to take an immediate right and you're going to get parked in our parking area. We don't want you to park in the Castle Hill parking, which is for our volunteers. So if you're gonna do that, please park there. It'll open up everything else to everyone else for VIP parking and whatnot. If it's full, of course, and you have VIP tickets, then park in the VIP parking. Remember, really importantly, all the ticket stubs have to be in the barrels on Saturday by 3:15, or you won't get to have your ticket drawn. And I'm sorry, that's the hard line on it. We've had an occasion before, and we don't want your tickets not to be in the barrels. Wonderfully, you wouldn't believe the little things that are controversies about this car show. I learned. Bob Schlanger, who is the chairman of the board of JTED, is going to draw the raffle tickets for the 6 prizes, including the Corvette. So that's kind of fun to have our ultimate beneficiary, chairman of the board, is going to draw that. And he's also got 2 cars. He's got a bus and a car in the show. And he'll be there, but he hasn't bought any tickets, so he's not going to be compromised by things. And as was said, the weather's supposed to be great. Put on sunscreen. Masks are optional. We cannot police what's going on if 20,000 people happen to be on the field. We just can't do it. If you feel comfortable wearing a mask, please feel free to do so, but we're not going to police that or enforce that in any way. Thank you very much, and be there on Saturday. Or Friday or Sunday.
Jody, thanks for your leadership. I know you're ready for Saturday to come and go.
I have Gary Hirsch.
Gary Hirsch, he's
Right
got a
here.
little announcement on the ride to end polio. Gary.
Yep.
Thanks, Mark. So if you're relatively new to the club, you're probably wondering, we're really still talking about polio? Well, we are. If you are new, you might not know that 30 years ago, when Rotary joined the global initiative to eradicate polio, there were about 350,000 cases each year. We're running now at usually under 20 cases per year. But as the last year and a half has shown us, until a disease is gone, it's not gone. And so we're still working on this. I don't have the clicker. Jim? Can you just fill the screen with the slide, if you don't mind? Thanks. And so last year on World Polio Day, which is October 24th, Rotary was able to announce that polio had completely been eradicated from the continent of Africa, with polio being eradicated in Nigeria, which is a really big deal. So what I want you to know about, what I really want you to know about the ride to end polio, it's a perfect example of what one person with a radical idea can do to bring about dramatic change. Michael Harris, who's Charlotte's husband, who left us way too soon, was looking for a way for smaller clubs to take advantage of the Gates match. And if you're not familiar with that, for every $1 we raise, the Gates Foundation gives us $2. And so Mike was looking for a way to do that, and finally, after years of training, he got Rotary approved to be a nonprofit participant in the Ride to End Polio. Next slide, please. Wasn't always a great time. The weather's usually pretty good, but not always. In the 10 years or so that Darrell Stewart and I have chaired this event, we only had rain one time. Next slide. So it started small. 2009 was the first year. The numbers you're going to see for the money that was raised include the Gates match. So divide those numbers by 3 to find out what we actually did raise. In 2009, 2010, we had about 25 cyclists who managed to raise about $30,000. Next, please. And so 2012 was a game changer. Our very own Ernie Montaigne saw fit to involve that gentleman in the middle of the picture. And if you don't recognize him, he's John Yuko, the General Secretary of Rotary International. We would consider his position to be something like the CEO's position. Ernie invited John to come ride in the Ride to End Polio. And John not only brought a handful of cyclists from Rotary International, but he brought a bump to our fundraising that endures to this day. Next slide, please. 2013. In recognition of John's fundraising in 2012, Perimeter made him the dedication recipient for the ride for the El Tour de Tucson, which meant about 8,000 cyclists who received their medal for completing the ride had John's picture engraved on one side of that medal. And it really just put Rotary in the books for El Tour de Tucson. When they cite their fundraising success, about 98% of that number is due to the work that we've done. Next slide, please. So 2014 is when fundraising really started to ramp up. The weather was great, and with the Gates match, we raised over $7 million. I think that was the year that I came off the stage announcing what we had done, and Pat Zumbush pulled me aside and said, "You really freaked me out." Next slide. So this has really become an event that people around the world have looked forward to. We've had cyclists from the Philippines, from Australia, from Germany, from France, and it really has become something of a reunion for folks. This year in particular, since there was no ride last year, it will be a reunion. We're expecting about 100 cyclists this year. Next slide. So 2016, these are the folks who set out to ride 100 miles, and all told, with the other cyclists, raised $11.3 million. It's not easy getting on a bike and riding 100 miles. It's not easy riding 57 miles. Sometimes it's not even easy just getting on a bike, right, Tony? Next slide, please. So in addition to cycling, we do a couple of things. Rotary works an aid station, which in the past was up on Tangerine, providing water and snacks for all the cyclists in El Tour. We also have a great party booth at the finish line, where our cyclists congregate at the end of the ride to really celebrate. Next slide. 2018, again, I mentioned we have cyclists coming from around the world and around the country and around the state. Next slide. So we'd like to ask that you consider supporting the folks in our club who are planning to ride. And if you go to the next slide, here's where your money goes. It costs $3 to immunize a child against polio. It's a bargain. This is 2017 data. In 2017, Rotary immunized 430 million children around the country. That's where your money goes, and spent $100 million just paying attention to where polio exists and where it's controlled. Next slide. So Candy and I, as the only registered participants, would be thrilled to have all 230 of you supporting us, and the folks on the left who are doing the indoor ride. But I know there's a lot of folks here who wait till the last minute, so if you're planning to ride, please stand just for a minute. And my point being, you don't have to support just Candy and I. We're doing fine. But please, if you're contributing for birthdays or fines or whatever, consider making your contribution to Polio Plus in support of one of our riders. Next and last slide, I believe. So we've had an amazing, successful ride, no pun intended, with this project, and Daryl and I couldn't be prouder. The numbers are a little bit soft, but we believe that in the 10 or 11 years we've been doing this, including the Gates match, we have raised a bit over $53 million, the single largest fundraiser in the history of Rotary. Next slide. So Rabbi Stephanie might jump on my pronunciation. Tikkun Olam, it's why I belong to Rotary. Tikkun Olam means to repair the world. Somebody's got to do it, and it may well be us.
Gary, thank you. So as you all know, women recruitment is a big deal for us this year, and I want to thank immediate past president and centennial co-president with me, my pal Jennifer Hoffman, who's got a quick announcement about a little fun event she's got going on.
Thank you, Mark. So next Wednesday, no offense to you guys, I love you guys. I live with 3 men myself, but 2 of them are my sons, so I'm scared of them. But we are having a women's membership drive next Wednesday, and so I highly encourage our women membership, if you're able to attend, please come and bring a friend, another female friend that you think would make a huge contribution to our club. It takes place next Wednesday, the 20th at Fleming's from 5:30 to 7:30. I will be sending out an email blast to our women, the women in the club later today or first thing tomorrow, with the details, and if you could RSVP to me, I'll include my phone number and my email address. And men of the club, please encourage friends that you have to join us. I also have another announcement, and AV team, if you could help me with the slides. I, again, am so proud to announce this awesome slate of candidates we have for the 2022-2024 Board of Directors. We will be electing 3 of these fantastic candidates on November 3rd. If you could please stand if you're here when I say your name. We have Cindy Barbie, Lynn DeVoe, Dan Colm, Alan Rogers, Wes Wiggins, and Jeannie Zeta. So in that election will take place on November 3rd. I will be sending out absentee ballot information as that date approaches. Thank you.
I'm going to ambush the microphone here. Anybody does not have and needs a Rotary Community Service work shirt. These are not the party shirts. A work shirt. Men, I will be right over here, and Nancy Bivens will be over here with those shirts particularly tailored for the ladies.
Thanks, John. So we're going to do a Happy Jackson with Margaret Higgins. We're going to put that off till our next meeting. First, I just want, as we're adjourning, I want to thank everybody for joining us, whether you're here in person or joining us virtually. We hope you enjoyed the meeting. You should know that the scholarship cups are back on the table. You'll notice some people have a little on their badge that they're an annual giver. If you haven't received your Rotary pin, please see Dorina. We've got one on the back for you. I want to just make a couple other quick announcements. So we're dark next week due to the car show. The following week, the 27th, we will be replacing our regular luncheon with the social mixer. And then our next meeting is going to be back here on the TCC on November 3rd. That'll be a music program with our own amazing Chris Dodge and Crystal Stark. And with that, I want to just wish a happy birthday again to Rick and to Rob and to Mike. Happy birthday, guys. Special thank you to General Ted. Ted, thank you for coming and providing a great presentation. I also appreciate you sticking around afterwards. So it's time for that toast and adjourn. Here's to those like SALC who work tirelessly to make Southern Arizona all it could be. Thanks for your leadership, General. Here, we're adjourned.